Okay, I am going to quickly run through the anatomy of the heart using this diagram here. So the heart is split into two halves. You have the right side of the heart, which is shown here in blue, and you have the left side of the heart, which is shown here in red. So the right side of the heart is responsible for pumping deoxygenated blood out to the lungs, which then comes back and flows into the left side of the heart, which is responsible for pumping the oxygenated blood to all of the tissues in the body. The left side of the heart has to pump the blood much further than the right hand side of the heart. So you can see it's got a much thicker wall here. So what I'm going to do is go through and label each of the parts of the anatomy, and then I will go through and describe the blood flow. So here you have the right atrium, which is where the deoxygenated blood flows into and pools. It then passes through the tricuspid valve and then flows into the right ventricle. The blood collects in the right ventricle before being pushed out of the semilunar valve to the lungs. It does this via the pulmonary artery. Now, as I previously mentioned, the heart has two sides, the left and the right, and these are divided by a thick septum. Just pop in there for you. So, after the blood goes to the lungs, this way, it comes back in via the left atrium now, through the bicuspid valve, and collects in the left ventricle. Now, the left ventricle contracts and pushes blood all the way up into the aorta and through the semilunar valve. So you have two semilunar valves. One is between the right ventricle and the pulmonary artery, and one is between the left ventricle and the aorta. So the aorta, not on this diagram, but it will be here, and the pulmonary artery will be here. So I will just quickly go through the blood flow. So you have deoxygenated blood coming from the body, coming in, entering the right atrium. This then contracts. The blood flows through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle where it fills up. This ventricle then contracts and the blood gets pushed up, away from the heart, into the pulmonary artery, and travels to the lungs. Now, these semilunar valves, which you have on both sides, are stop the blood flowing back into the ventricle to ensure all the blood flows out of the heart. Okay, so after the blood flows to the lungs, it becomes oxygenated. It then travels back into the left atrium of the heart. There we go. Which contracts, pushes it through the bicuspid valve, which then the blood also collects in the left ventricle. Once the left ventricle is full, it contracts and the blood is pushed up and out through this semilunar valve as well into the aorta. Now remember, the semilunar valve is there to stop the blood flowing back from the aorta back into the left ventricle. So once the blood reaches the aorta, this then distributes to the rest of the body. Right, so that is just a quick overview of the anatomy of the heart.